Rain lashed the windows of Riverside high the day Jamal Davis arrived. He slipped quietly into his new seat, hoping to disappear into the crowd, but he drew the eyes of everyone in the room. He was the new kid, tall, lean, with a military posture that came naturally. Silent, watchful. Easy prey for mockery. When Jamal quietly mentioned in class that his father had served in Delta Force, the reaction was swift and scornful. The loudest laughter came from Deputy Randy Doyle, the school resource officer whose badge seemed to authorize arrogance. Delta Force, huh? Watch a lot of movies, kid. He sneered. The nickname Delta Boy spread like wildfire. What they didn't see was how Jamal tracked exits in every room, noted sightlines and blind spots, how his hands never fully relaxed. What they never guessed was that his father, Master Sergeant Marcus Davis, had disappeared from all records years ago, not because he was gone, but because his mission had gone black. Jamal hadn't stopped training. He was his father's legacy. The first confrontation came in Mr. Atwood's history class, where students were assigned a Veterans Day essay. Jamal mentioned his father, triggering Deputy Doyle's intrusion into the classroom. Delta Force? Son, do you know how many boys say that? They don't just let anyone in. What's your father's name? Marcus Davis. Never heard of him. You wouldn't have. That's kind of the point. The tension escalated fast. Doyle ordered Jamal to the principal's office. Principal Regina Bell, a tall black woman known for her fairness and grace, listened carefully. Doyle insisted on contacting Jamal's father, only to be told he's deployed. You can speak with my grandmother. She's my guardian. Miss Ruth, Jamal's grandmother, took the call with a cool calm. Afterward, Jamal was sent back to class. By lunch, whispers filled the halls. Delta Boy. He sat alone until a thin Latino kid named Mateo sat across from him. I'm Mateo. Algebra 2. Is it true? About your dad. Jamal took a bite of his sandwich. Yes. Mateo didn't laugh. That's cool. My dad works at the lumberyard. A tentative friendship formed. Jamal quietly helped Mateo with equations, and Mateo invited him to a birthday party. Jamal declined, "Gotta help my grandma," but appreciated the gesture. Later that night, Jamal received a manila envelope with no return address. Inside was a folded note bearing a cryptic sigillon hourglass intersected by a blade and 5 words, "Hold fast. The time will come." The next day brought new tensions. In gym class, the school quarterback, Tyler Whitman, cornered Jamal in the locker room. "My dad's on the city council. Knows every military family here. Never heard of yours." "Then he doesn't know everyone," Jamal replied calmly. Tyler's provocation turned personal. "Maybe your dad's just a deadbeat. Probably made up all those stories." Jamal's response was instant, closing the distance between them in a breath. He didn't touch Tyler, but the intensity in his stare was palpable. "Don't talk about my father." Coach blew his whistle, breaking the standoff. After school, Miss Ruth's face was drawn. Principal Bell called. "Said you stirred things up." They asked. "I told the truth." "The truth ain't always what folks want to hear." "Should I lie?" "Your daddy raised you to stand tall. Just don't let the world break you for it." Another envelope arrived that evening. Inside was another message, Phase 1 complete. Await activation. Miss Ruth burned the message without a word. Meanwhile, Deputy Doyle scoured military databases looking for Marcus Davis. He found nothing. He called in favors, pulled strings. Still nothing. Jamal kept quiet, observed, ran 5 miles each night, memorized the town's layout, learned guard rotations and blind corners. He noticed the 2 men who appeared near the school plain clothes, stiff posture. Watching. He changed routes home. Still, their car was always nearby. He asked Miss Ruth, "Were you burning another message?" "Some ghosts are better left asleep." "At school, Mr. Alvarez," the AP history teacher and former 82nd Airborne, pulled Jamal aside. "You move like someone who's seen combat. You remind me of a man I knew. He disappeared during Black Echo. Never found his body. What was his name?" "Classified. But he had your eyes." Then the ambush happened. After school, Jamal was walking through an alley when a van blocked his path. 2 masked men rushed him. They never stood a chance. 10 seconds. 2 unconscious men. 1 call to 911, attempted abduction. "I'll wait here." Security footage spread through the department. Doyle watched it, stunned. "Play it again." "Freeze there. That move." That's Special Forces. By morning, the school buzzed with speculation. No more jokes. Now there was awe and fear. Principal Bell called Jamal in. Deputy Doyle wants answers. So do I. They attacked. I defended myself. Doyle arrived. Crushed larynx. Dislocated shoulder. Where'd you learn to fight like that? Self-defense. From my father. Your imaginary Delta Force father? I won't answer anything else without my grandmother. He was placed on suspension for safety. Outside, Miss Ruth was waiting. You promised not to use what he taught you unless your life depended on it. It did. Now they know. Everyone knows. That night, Jamal wrote in a coded notebook. 2 surveillance vehicles sat outside. Miss Ruth cooked in silence. When he asked about his father again, she whispered, he's alive. But the world thinks he's dead. It has to. Mr. Alvarez was visited by Doyle. The conversation turned hostile quickly. After Doyle left, Alvarez made a call. The boy's been compromised. We need to move up the timeline. Later that night, Doyle's computer flickered. A classified file appeared, Operation Black Echo. Most of it redacted. One name visible, Reaper. Status, MIA. Reaper was Marcus Davis. Elijah Carter stood outside his son's window, face shadowed by a cap, scars visible beneath. He was watching. He was back. The next day, Doyle stormed into the school board meeting. He shouted accusations. Said Jamal was a danger. Mocked his imaginary Delta dad. Miss Ruth left the meeting shaken. Later that night, a man in a suit warned Principal Bell, some things are above your pay grade. Back off. The following morning, an assembly was called. Doyle took the mic. Your classmate's been lying. His Delta daddy won't save him. Jamal stood up, walked to the stage. He doesn't need to, but you better be ready when he does. He left. Luis followed. You leaving? For now. That evening, Miss Ruth found a note. Initiating Phase 2. Meanwhile, at Fort Bragg, Elijah Davis stood before a tribunal. Black Echo was sabotaged from the inside. I disappeared to protect my son. He's the last legacy operator. Back in Riverside, Jamal returned to school. Now there were guards. No jokes. No whispers. Hunter Whitman visited Miss Ruth. Apologized. Don't apologize to me, she said. Make it right with him. Then everything changed again. The training facility where Jamal had been relocated came under attack. Doyle, now rogue, led the team. Explosions. Gunfire. Chaos. Jamal escaped. Luis was kidnapped. Jamal received a message, Legacy Protocol. Come alone. Miss Ruth suffered a stroke that night. Jamal slipped past his guards and went to rescue his friend. In a warehouse, he infiltrated disabled guards and freed Luis. Just as they were cornered, Elijah arrived, rifle in hand. 3 clean shots. Jamal and Luis escaped. The final battle took place at Riverside's War Memorial. A trap. Jamal and Elijah waited as rogue operators approached. Smoke bombs. Diversions. Surgical takedowns. Doyle showed up in a van capturing Jamal. Inside, he ranted about betrayal. Jamal used a hidden explosive to flip the van. Escaped. Meanwhile, Elijah confronted the mastermind, General Bradford. Confession recorded. Live streamed. Alvarez activated the broadcast. The aftermath. Arrests, revelations, redemption. Jamal was offered a choice, join the cadet program or walk away. He chose to finish school. Luis got an NSA internship. Hunter testified against his father. Miss Ruth began to recover. 6 months later, a new plaque was added to the memorial. Jamal stood before it. A stranger asked, who were they? Legends, Jamal said. One of them was my father. And for the first time, the boy known as Delta stood in the light, his identity fully his own.